Okay.
One guy by decision, one guy by knockout, one guy by submission. We're going Ismail by decision.
For the winner, Ismail!
Jeff Neal by knockout.
Oh!
Hamza by sub.
He goes for the neck! He's down!
I love Bo by points this week. I love it. It's my favorite prop. I like Span sub.
He's got it. Neck tight. He got the tap.
I like Pantoja by rear naked choke. Give me Bryce Mitchell inside the distance. I just bet it, bro. I put it in right now.
And I think round 1-2 plus 135 is a good number. What a great intro. Thank you guys so much for working behind for getting that set up for us. And we are so hyped for this show, UFC Seattle. It should be a good one. We got a ton of big fight news that I'm sure Matty and I won't be able to help ourselves today. But it is a great Thursday to be here. You know, it is Thursday. My name is Austin Swaim. I work for FanDuel Research. My guy, the man, the myth, the long shot legend, Matty Tanner on the other side. And I'm going to bring him in here and ask him a question because Matty, you got to live out some of our gambler dreams. Sometimes I hit a player prop or whatever, and I wish I could just high-five the guy and I could buy him a beer or whatever. You actually got to do that last week. So tell me about your highlight from UFC Vegas 102 because it was a cool one.
Bro, the only thing that could have been better is if RoboCop got it done in the main event. But I have no regrets on that bet at the end of the day. You know, something wasn't right with him. He came out, got 2 knockdowns early. But, man, after round 1, I knew it was cooked. I was like, he don't look right, bro. So he ended up gassing, I think. And, props to Jared Cannonier. He's just a vet, and, he's done it time and time again. So, but the heel hook was amazing. If you guys aren't tuning into the Friday shows, you got to tune into the Friday shows too. Make sure you come to Thursday for the full breakdown. And then Friday, I think it's the same time, with myself and Hey Drive, and we do, we bring you guys on. We bring the gamblers on to give us picks. So Thursdays is when you guys listen to us. Fridays is when we listen to you. But man, I think that live stream was the reason we ended up on the heel hook. And oh my God, bro, I was at Circa, and right when he went for the leg, because he was in a dominant position, he didn't have to do that. You could just tell he just loves those heel hooks.
Yeah.
I asked him, I was like, bro, are you gonna go for that next time too? He's like, dude, I can heel hook anyone. That's what he said. But I got to meet Walter and Johnny. We were at the Win. I forgot what the club's called at the Win, but we went to the Win. Got some bottle service there. Those are some fun guys, man. They're out there dancing, just being themselves, having a good time. So it was a pretty cool night.
And then you parlayed that they were on Show Me the Money earlier this week, right?
Yeah, so we had Walter on, and then he showed the camera to Johnny. Yeah. Dude, he is hilarious, bro. He's hilarious.
Yeah, Walter certainly is a great addition. I mean, showing kind of how bad the grappling in heavyweight is that he says he can heel hook anyone. It's starting to feel like he can heel hook a lot of this division. So Walter Walker moving toward the rankings. That was a win for you. You and I both loved RoboCop in the main event last week. He got the early drops. Like you said, it wasn't able. That's what swung my night from slight green to slight red. So we are certainly hoping for green this weekend, and we're going to turn to the Emerald City to do so. So UFC has navigated a lot of.
Let me address real quick, brother. Not to interrupt you. Let me address this little Eric Souza's comment. Matt, are you going to release the long shots before the fights, or wait till 2 legs hit to post them? So Eric Sosa, if you go to my Telegram or my Instagram or my X, you see every long shot was posted before the fights, hours before. So when I was in Vegas, I ended up putting additional parlays in and long shots, but the heel hook was posted on the graphic. Everything that hit was posted before on the graphic. Now, some combinations where I was like, I'm going to throw this prop in with this prop. I did that last minute at Circa. That ticket didn't hit anyway. So the heel hook was posted the day, like 5-6 hours before the fight. So, and it was posted on social media even before that. So just to address that comment right there. But continue, sir.
So back to where I was coming from, I was trying to transition to UFC Seattle because UFC has navigated a lot of injury concerns. We have a crazy good main event, crazy good co-main event. Both should be awesome fights ahead of us. A lot of injury replacements about that. Just some high-level thoughts on the card before we dive in. Like, how you feeling, I guess, from a gambling perspective? You're the one who told me it's always a good card if we hit our bets. But how's the cycle vibes for this one?
I think we have some good opportunities. I have a feeling we're gonna, and again for everyone listening, we don't talk at all.
Yeah.
Every now and then we'll talk about one fight or so, but for the most part, we don't talk at all about these fights until we hit the show live.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're gonna agree on probably on a couple decision or submission opportunities is my guess.
Yeah.
So yes, we're gonna cook a cycle. I think we're gonna cook a cycle live on the show tonight. By the end of the show is our goal. Is always our goal, but it doesn't always happen. You know what's crazy is I was just saying the other week, I'm like, we're always so close on the cycle. Like we hit one leg and the other two are opposite.
Mm-hmm.
We went 0 for 3 on the cycle this past week. And I think we did that twice now this year. So we got to turn that around for sure. But at the end of the day, it's a parlay. It doesn't matter if you hit every leg or zero, or if you hit every leg but one leg, or if you hit no legs, it's still a loss at the end of the day. So we just got to put one together.
Well, you know, the one we're trying to hit at 60-70% is the safe parlay. I did end up hitting it, but instead of a plus 100, it was about minus 185 or so on the safe parlay. But yeah, unfortunately, Nursultan Ruziboev's brother dug into the cheeseburgers, didn't make it to fight Jared Gordon. I think Jared Gordon was going to absolutely stomp that dude based on the experience.
Oh, dude, he was going to kill him, bro.
So I wasn't surprised to see him pull out, but it did end up.
Yeah.
But hey, like you said, a win's a win. Again, we're trying to hit like 60-ish% on the safe parlay this year, so we'll try to keep moving forward. It's a no on cornrows for me. So
with the layout here.
Yeah, why don't we dive in? Let's go to our layout. You can hide my face, just make sure we can see the slides so we can talk about this first fight up on the card, which is a light heavyweight bout between Modestas Bukauskas. He's taking on Rafael Cerqueira. I've noticed some weird StreamYard stuff too, so not to throw StreamYard under the bus, but Rafael Cerqueira coming off his debut where it was weird. He was kind of like a punching bag for Ibo Aslan, it felt like, in the first round. Like, I was surprised as an Ibo Aslan backer in that fight how easy it turned out to be. And then Modestas Bukauskas had that fight with Marcin Prachnio, the wildest fight that you'll see. He got hit with a question mark kick in the pocket, but ends up finding a submission to Marcin Prachnio on a pay-per-view. So these guys both going to open the show. Bukauskas minus 285. He is the UFC winner of these two. But what do you think about the odds on this fight in general?
I mean, I like Modestas as a pick here, but man, minus 285. I'm probably not going to be touching that. I think he can maybe have some success in this fight at range and maybe win a decision, but it's not a fight I'm lining up at the window to bet. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and you know, this is where I love to intake data, because I was all over Prachnio against Bukauskas, because my thinking was Bukauskas is a guy that hadn't tried any takedowns, and he didn't have any submission attempts in UFC. Well, these guys will evolve their games. He's only 31, gets 2 takedowns against Prachnio, was able to submit him. And not do I think he's going to submit a BJJ specialist like Cerqueira in this spot, but the fact that if he can stuff takedowns, defend grappling advances, we saw Cerqueira eat, and this feels like a fake number, almost 33 significant strikes per minute in his debut. He looked like a punching bag on the feet. This might be Bukauskas' best opportunity to have a decent showing at distance. I feel like Cerqueira is kind of a trendy dog pick, because Bukauskas has been this guy that he doesn't put a lot out there by offense, and he doesn't. He only attempts about 7 significant strikes a minute or so. But then Cerqueira on the other side, we didn't have very high prior. Comes in, it was a heavy bag for Ibo Aslan, who's a guy we'll talk about later on this card that I even have some questions about still. So, like, I kind of get Bukauskas moderate favorite here. I'm with you that I think he's a good pick to win the fight, but minus 290 is minus 285 is kind of a tough sell, and I really don't know how I lean other than Bukauskas' decision, which if I look at the prop is probably darn near close to even money.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I mean, what's the KO from Modestas?
How about this? Bukauskas KO plus 120. Points is plus 300, bro.
Oh, my God. Give me the points. Dude.
Yeah, give me the points.
That's just recency bias. I'm sorry, but you're going to give me plus 120 on Modestas Bukauskas to get a KO. I'm going to pass on that. Yeah. I'm going to pass on that for the cycle, and I'm going to pass on that for my card. I think that's just a recency bias number. So if I'm taking anything in this fight, I'm going with Dessus by decision, but we'll see
Yeah.
if that even makes my card.
Yeah, I think we'll find decisions we like better, but man, that is surprising to me. I would have guessed that the favorite outcome here would have been him by decision. His only UFC knockout was a controversial stoppage against Mihailidis, where he leaned against the cage. They opened the cage and he fell out, and then all of a sudden the ref waved it off, and there was a protest afterwards. So I don't see Bukauskas as a guy with a lot of power for a plus 120 knockout pop.
What's the KO the other way? Just out of curiosity here.
So Cerqueira is plus 440 to win by knockout. I actually think his submission at 18-1 is somewhat interesting.
Oh my goodness, 18-1.
I would have had more interest in that before I saw Bukauskas have a nice grappling session against Pracino, that's for sure. I'm looking up some of Cerqueira's splits. His level of competition is so bad. He only has 2 wins by sub. Man, a long layoff here, almost a year at this point for Cerqueira, except for that little bit against Aslan. So, but it's just tough. And Bukauskas has never been a guy that's been overly been one of my favorites. But one thing you can count on him for: manages distance well at range, defends takedowns. So I like points 3-1 here.
I was trying to see who Modestus got subbed by. He'd been subbed once. It was all the way back. It was a heel hook.
Sub-paging Walter Walker.
No fucking way. It was a heel hook back in 2016. Hold on. Now I'm curious here. I got to take a look at something real quick. What are his 2 submissions? So it's an arm triangle. It's 2 arm triangles. I gotta take a look at the exact odds now. It's like my new favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I don't
think it's up on the board yet for this fight, though. I think it's just the main card.
Yeah. I almost kind of hard to remember that win against Tyson Pedro that he had, and then I always remember Bukauskas most from when Khalil Roundtree absolutely blew out his ACL with that front kick. Like a lot of fighters even said it was kind of a dirty move, but really weird that KO is plus 120 here. I think that's just saying, hey, Cerqueira is not a UFC level guy, that he's fragile, but I'll take points at 3-1 all day. I mean, I don't even hate that for the cycle. So let's move forward. We don't want to spend too much. I have a hard time with a lot of these early prelims. We don't have a ton of data on them. This is another great example of it, because if you have an argument on either one of these sides that you feel strongly about, I'd be willing to hear it. Nursultan Ruziboev, I just mentioned him and his brother that had a cheeseburger addiction back in the day. And now he is back and he's taking on Eric Mcconico. This is another fight that saw some turbulence with injuries. Mcconico, 34. He's been training with the MMA lab in Arizona, which is a good place to be, and it'll usually get you a UFC ticket with how those guys have performed these days. There are some Ruziboev doubters. I've actually cashed him in a main parlay that I had, like a CLV parlay before. Had that knockout of Bruno Ferreira, got the stoppage of Dumas before letting us down against Joaquin Buckley. But what do you think of Ruziboev here coming in at nearly minus 300 against a guy with pretty minimal experience?
Yeah, it's hard to get a read off this guy. I actually think, I think at first he was overrated, and now I think he's a little bit underrated in a way, right? Because Buckley made him look pretty bad, but Buckley's a fucking stud, dude. At this day and age, Buckley's a stud, and I think this guy's going up to his like a much better weight class. He's a tall, big guy. I mean, is it crazy? He has 32 finishes. I think 20 subs and 12 KOs. Does that sound right?
Yes, it does. And I think that's where a lot of the negative reputation of him comes from. Is a lot of people think he just gets cheeky subs off his back.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Eric's been, let's see here. He's been knocked out twice, never been submitted, and he has 3 wins by submission. I mean, I lean Nursultan by KO here. I think he can get it done. He usually gets it done early when he does. And if he doesn't get it done early, he starts to fade a little bit. But I do think that like the 1-2 KO here would be live for him.
Yeah, I'm weirded out that a lot of people kind of are looking at Mcconico as a dog shot with his resume, because Ruziboev went through a guy in Bruno Ferreira who's had a lot of UFC success. He, the Buckley fight, God, couldn't you argue he put a more competitive effort together against Buckley than Colby Covington did? Like, couldn't that argument be made? And it feels like
that's very true. That's a very good point, bro.
it feels like his stock is kind of down from that, but Buckley has become this wrestling threat that, I do have questions about Ruziboev's takedown defense, and if he ends up losing because it doesn't hold here, that's fine. But like, I'm with you. I think he's a little bit underrated. I don't know if he's going to stay at 170 or 185. This fight at 185 because it's long-term notice, but checks the box with Jim, trains with the Renzo Gracie Fili guys like Sean Brady, Paul Felder, that their old gym.
Right.
So that's good gym to come from. And not every MMA lab guy has been a slam dunk success, especially in these heavier weight classes, whereas they have Kyle Phillips, Sean O'Malley, all those guys at the lower weight classes, Mario Bautista in there as well. I like Ruziboev here, and if you were going to tell me I love Ruziboev KO for the cycle, I wouldn't blame you because I think he's a super powerful, dangerous guy early, and this is kind of a squash match. So I lean Ruziboev, but I haven't bet it, and I don't have like a strong. I'm pounding the table for this sort of league.
I'm very open to Ruziboev KO. It's plus 160.
Okay.
His sub is plus 260. If you go double method of victory KO sub, you're at minus 185. The only thing that would scare me is if he gets taken down early because I think he's just live to snatch something up on the ground. But I think we should consider this one for the cycle for sure on the KO.
Absolutely, we'll add it to the list. I never love throwing exact outcomes in these fights because we don't know anything about Mcconico. We don't know about his tendencies. But if we don't find anything better, I certainly think plus 160 almost feels like a discount for a guy that's minus 300. Doesn't have a lot of takedown offense per se. Feels like a good bargain. So
would you invest like a full unit or two on him inside the distance at minus 185?
Minus 180. Wow, that's interesting that they're so far apart. So what's sub here? You probably said
sub's only plus 260, KO's plus 160.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that almost feels like something I should pencil down for the safe parlay at minus 185 if odds makers are a little bit. I feel I have a stronger lean toward KO than sub than they do, but you're probably right that if you're going to play him here in some sort of safer fashion, it would be inside the distance.
This guy grapples too.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I like the KO. When was his last grappling match? Back in 2021, actually. So
yeah,
nothing too recent, but he had a grappling match in 2021 and 2020, which he's 1-1 in those two matches.
Pretty noteworthy that Mcconico points is shorter than Nursultan to win by points, which goes to what you're saying.
Yeah, I like the KO here, bro. I think it's definitely something we're gonna keep an eye out on.
Me too. The way he flattened Pereira and really he hurt Dumas a couple of times before he even got the eye poke, knockout blow, whatever you want to call it. I think Ruziboev's a guy that I still have an arrow up on. Maybe I'm kind of alone in that, but
for sure.
We'll see. We'll write it down and we'll keep track. I wonder if we'll have a cycle leg in this next one because this came to light on Tuesday. We had no idea that this fight was even coming on the radar because Mr. Van Zandt, Austin Vanderford, of course, the husband of Paige Van Zandt, longtime Bellator guy. I had heard of him. Of course, I shared my first name with him, so that helps. But Vanderford had a pretty good run in Bellator. I thought he was basically retired at this point. And UFC calls him up. He's an Oregon guy. Says, you want to fight in the Pacific Northwest? They needed a 12th fight for this. And they go ahead and they tab Nikolai Veretennikov, who had a very competitive decision with Danny Barlow. And a lot of people liked Barlow. Veretennikov was a big underdog in that fight. Almost won it. Could have won it. Depends who you ask what the judges were. I actually think this is a low-key banger. It's one of the closest line fights on the card. I was happy to see it added. I just haven't had a strong lean of exactly what I want to do with it yet. So we've seen a lot of movement from even this graphic because right now Vanderford's actually a small favorite. He's minus 115 on FanDuel right now. When we prepared the graphic, Veretennikov was minus 142. So a lot of money moving in this fight. What do you think of these guys, Matty?
I just don't know how good Austin's going to be in 2025. Yeah. I like a lot of his competition back in the day, though. Like if you're looking at some of the names he's fought, he also grappled against Jake Shields.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This is just a really tough fight. I think the line's kind of stuck too. Like I thought Austin would become a bigger dog, but it's kind of stuck. I think there's some decent, respectable money coming in on him here.
Yeah.
kind of holding that line a little bit. Do you get that feeling too?
Well, I mean, so Vanderford's pushed to a favorite here, which is, he kind of feels like, I feel like there's been a little bit of sharp
Was our
steam
graphic
behind
wrong?
here. Yeah, it is. It is wrong, but it's only wrong because this has moved so much today.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're right.
isn't it crazy?
Minus 115 right now. Holy shit.
I'm with you. I kind of like Veretennikov at a dog price now, and I didn't have a strong lean in this fight, but to me, Veretennikov is more active. I really liked him going to that Barlow fight. I did bet him both plus 3.5 and his money line in that Barlow fight. And look, Vanderford's probably more well-rounded, but Veretnikov's had decent entry-level takedown defense so far at 60%, which on paper isn't great, but Vanderford was knocked out a couple times in Bellator. I think he got dropped in the Contender Series. Interesting. Yeah, we had a comment. I was gonna wait for Vanderford, and then the line was gone. Yeah, it was a giant push his way. So, if you wanted to bet the Vanderford side, I almost kind of like a sub prop for him in this spot. I think he'll have a grappling advantage, but Veretennikov, to me, I think Veretennikov points, maybe a knockout. Vanderford is getting up there in age, but I like Veretennikov. I think he's the more active guy and a little bit more polished. So I kind of just will let this number keep moving. If I get him at like plus 120, I think that'd be a heck of a deal.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find any of these out method of victory props anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll have him just because this fight is so new.
Yeah.
Crazy money line movement, though. You don't see that too often.
I don't see it anywhere. Interesting. What would you need Austin by sub? What would you need that number to be at to consider playing it?
4.5 to 1.
Interesting.
Just because I think he's a guy that I think he knows what his advantage in this fight will be, where we've seen Veretennikov struggle, at least on a UFC level, would be a sort of submission. And I don't know how much he wants to hang out a distance at this point. He was dropped on the Contender Series, and I see Veretennikov as a guy that has a ton of power. Hey, you want to talk about two hard assignments, UFC affiliated assignments for Veretennikov so far? Michael Morales, Danny Barlow. Good luck, bud. Like, he's got to be thrilled to fight a guy like Vanderford and have a reach advantage for once.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if this play is going to come out by I guess probably by tomorrow or Saturday, but Austin likes that arm triangle if you guys are looking for that specific outcome again. Let's just see what the number is, bro. Maybe it's might be like 12 to 1 or some shit, you know?
Yeah. And
he
the way
that arm triangle a lot. Look at uses it in grappling. He has a few finishes with it in grappling matches, in MMA matches. He did a lot of them. Let's see how many total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 in amateur, 3 in professional.
My
and then he's a couple rear naked chokes. Something to look at.
Yeah, you love those exact outcome submission.
I'm obsessed after last week, bro.
Yeah.
I live in Florida, so I've never been able to really play them. And then when I was in Vegas, I played it. And now I'm just so obsessed with them. I mean, it is pretty cool. It is. It's a pretty cool thing to hit.
Did you play a Shabazian one last week? Did you end up playing a front choke of some sort?
I think I played like a Bravo choke or something. I forget what it was on there. And I had Vince Morales by Darce, and he had a couple Darces. He had a couple Darces locked in, bro. So like, even when you don't hit them, they're like right there. You still get obsessed with playing them, you know.
I want to shout out my guy Jewish Better, because right before the fight on X, he called Gabriel Bonfim by Von Flue choke. Bonfim had a Von Flue attempt, bro. And I thought he was going to absolutely.
Bro, you want to hear some crazy shit? Someone on Twitter or Instagram, they bet like 50 cents to win like hundreds of dollars. They had Gabriel Bonfim by Von Fluke parlayed with the fucking heel hook for Walker. So it was like a 50 to 1 leg and like a 12 to 1 leg. Parlayed, they put like 50 cents on it, and it paid like hundreds of dollars.
That is insane. I mean, the exact submissions. That was me.
I'm gonna take his word for it, but I forget. There's someone on Twitter. Maybe it was him right here on YouTube. Here it is. That was the one, bro.
Wow.
All right, so Juicy Q, you got to come on the show tomorrow. Tomorrow night, give us your crazy long shot, and we'll shout you out, bro. That was a hell of a bet. Imagine I put like $100 on that, bro.
Yeah, now, Can you ever imagine me specifically betting these exact outcome props? Because they're so anti-Austin. I feel like it's hard enough to decide when someone's going to get a sub, but these are right up your alley. I said, I commented on your TikTok. I said that this was a dangerous win for you because I know you're going to love these props for moving forward. So I love it, man. It gives us something to talk about and can give us some fun stories. But why don't we move forward here? We'll talk about this one, which was also the first fight I was able to model on the card, which was a wonderful bit of footing for me. Javid Basharat taking on Ricky Simone. Matty, a lot of people done with Ricky Simone. He loses to Vinicius Oliveira, looked really uncompetitive against Song Yadong. We think maybe is he washed, but he's only 32. So can he get his career turned back in the right direction against a guy in Javid Basharat, who we thought the Basharats were unstoppable, headed toward the rankings? He loses to Ayman Zahabi as well. So really both of these guys trying to rebound. I think it's a great fight. Odds right now sitting with Basharat at minus 260 or so. So what do you think about the Snow Leopard in this spot?
I like him. I mean, it's kind of, I think fans are equally kind of off the, what's it called? They're kind of down low on both of these guys, right? With Basharat losing to Zahabi, or he just lost to, remind me, Basharat just coming off his last loss.
No, it was Zahabi. Yeah, it was
Zahabi. Yeah, Ariel Hawani's twin. Yeah, and then Ricky Simone. You know, the Vinicius Oliveira loss doesn't really age that poorly now. You know.
Yep.
I mean, Vinicius looked good in his last fight, like really good against really good competition. This is a tough fight. I will say one thing. I could see a world Ricky Simone leaves his neck out there on some of these takedowns against Basharat. Call me crazy, but maybe a guillotine, maybe a front choke, something. Most likely, Basharat wins a decision here, but I do think there's a world where he could find the neck here if Ricky Simone leaves that out there. I think this is a better buy low spot to me personally on Basharat than it is on Ricky Simone. I kind of think Zahabi's just a little bit underrated. And then also you're an undefeated guy and you taste your first loss. I feel like you psychologically you come back really strong in your next fight, especially with his brother has undefeated too. It's like losing that 0 on your record. I just feel like psychologically you're going to come back and have a good performance here. So I like him double chance, submission, or decision here.
Yeah, I this was the first bet I made this week. It was a model basis for it. I kind of like Ricky Simone here, dude. I do, and I think it's just really going to depend whether or not we get whether or not he's able to get the takedowns, right? How does the physicality play out? Because if he's not able to get takedowns, he's going to get pieced up at distance. We know that at this point. He has basically a minus 100, almost minus 200 strike differential in his last 2 fights. And it kind of feels like, doesn't it feel like Ricky Simone's doppelganger is a little bit like what we saw from Cody Steele, where if the takedowns aren't working, like he can look really limited, really fast, Steele at 155, but Simone at 135. You make a good point because Basharat's takedown defense so far, 85%, it is very good. So it's kind of a tough sell, but I think the physicality and the strength in this direction could very well lean Ricky. I still have Basharat a minus 135 favorite here. Find it interesting that this line was plus 230 on Sunday. It's now plus 205 live on Simone, so he has taken a little bit of money here. If you like decision, I can't blame you. I've got it at 50.1%, so a little over half of the time it ends in Basharat decision. But I think Ricky's got a little more finishing equity. To me, he's not a bad play here at plus 205. It's almost like, where's the buck going to stop for Ricky and a guy that I really thought was pretty special in this bantamweight division, but maybe not. I don't blame you for looking at Basharat decision. I guess it'll depend on the number. Do you know what it is in this one?
Yeah, Basharat by points is minus 125, so not the greatest number in the world.
Yeah.
The submission is 11-1 for Basharat. I'm sorry, bro, but for Ricky, I feel like has to shoot takedowns in this fight, and I just see it so clearly.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I got to crunch some numbers and figure out what the angle the model likes here, because I was not anticipating it's over 2.5 rounds here is minus 410. That is so heavy. I kind of, like you said, not only could Basharat get a sub coming in, I mean, Simone's a guy that has a couple of stoppages in UFC. Yeah, I've got. Let's see, I've got Simone inside the distance at plus 570, so I don't think that's going to show value. What is it? It's plus 800. Ricky
What?
Simone inside the distance.
That is a big number. Yeah, that's a big for a double chance. That's a huge number, bro.
Yeah, it almost makes you rather than even taking a fighter, if you just take.
I mean,
this fight
Basharat's
line-
never been finished, so it makes sense.
It is.
And Simone hasn't had a finish in what since Jack Shore in 2022.
Yeah,
I can't believe he's lost. Well, he's lost 4 in a row, including his grappling match.
yeah.
But he's fighting Sonya Dahan, Mario Bautista, and then the up and coming prospect in Vinicius Oliveira. So tough matchups, bro. I think that Basharat's going to win a decision, but I swear to you, on an 11-1 shot, I have to play it. What is Basharat? Let's look at most of Basharat's submissions here. So he's had 6 submission wins professionally. It's that guillotine, bro. Guillotines and darces.
Right,
He is-
perfect fit.
2 darces. He's a fucking heel hook. Is that hilarious? Back in 2016. Why do we keep seeing the heel hooks now that we won on a bet on one? So he has a couple guillotines and a couple darces. I think those 2 make the most sense in this matchup if you're going to play the sub, guillotine or darce. I would imagine it's going to be plus 2,500. What do you think for one of those? The sub alone is 11-1.
I
Maybe
mean,
plus 2,000 per bet probably. Or
it's got to be way more
20
than that.
2,500 to 3,000.
It's got to be way more than that if it subs like 11-1 because Walter Walker's sub last week was like what plus 250
Yeah, but
or
that's
something?
but that's also a heel hook. Like a guillotine's more common, and he has a couple of those. But again, Walker had
A heel hook in the fight right before that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, dude, hold on. It's on the board. Oh my God.
What is it?
I was right. 30-1.
Okay.
Basharat by Darce is 30-1. And Basharat by guillotine 12-1. That's a terrible number. You just go sub at 11-1.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting that they believe it would be so likely by that particular method. And I guess the sub number would make a difference. But we had someone in the chat that was a little bit with me, maybe Simone by arm triangle. But I think overwhelmingly it might be fun to take darts at the long shot here. But I've got this fight 77.9% likely to go the distance. So I think can we stop talking about heel hooks? Brendan Allen almost hooking heel hooking. Can we stop talking about heel
There
hooks?
it is. Yeah. Bro, this guy right here, he's calling all these exact outcomes. If he likes the Darce, I'm fucking riding, bro. I'm sorry.
Darce 30
I see that Darce happening, bro. I can see that Darce happening. I really can against Ricky Simone.
I'm so intrigued to see how this first sequence with physicality looks with Simone because a great question on the card. I mean, that's the thing that I loved about Simone is that I felt he had top shelf cardio for a guy who wrestled all the time. His takedown accuracy still 44%, and just these athletic dudes in Vinicius Oliveira and Song Yadong, they're brutally hard to take down. And I feel like Basharat is a little bit less quality of an athlete than those guys, if that makes sense. I feel like he's a little bit thinner, a little bit leaner, but he's much faster at distance. It's just, I guess maybe I have a hard time betting the Basharats because they're always like minus 300 or minus 400, and they have very little finishing equity, it feels like.
I mean, dude, if you look at how many wins by sub this guy has, like, out of his last 10 fights, it's like, I mean, he's got 6 of his 14 fights are by submission, and you're getting 11-1 on it.
Yeah.
I know it's higher level competition, but I think it's definitely worth the look. But again, probably goes the distance. It's probably Basharat by decision here, but that's minus 125. So you guys have to decide if you'd rather play a bigger number there.
I mean, I think he only has one UFC affiliated submission attempt. It was the one he finished on the Contender Series, Basharat. He's only gone for one, and he fight Tony Gravely, wrestler, Mateus Mendonça, grappler. So it's just very interesting that he hasn't really gone to that in UFC.
But his opponents are shooting offensive takedowns against him in those fights.
So Tony Gravely did. Gravely went 2 of 13, so he didn't have a very good effort. Mendonça went 2 of 11.
Okay, that's fair. Then that's a good point.
Yeah, so like they are shooting.
It might be a reach.
It's interesting to me that they feel Simone a lot of not as much win equity as I do is inside the distance. I think Ricky probably has to get a finish if he's going to win this fight. Otherwise, you got a striker versus a grappler. You have the guy that probably is the higher level prospect at this point. I feel like a lot would be working against Ricky in a decision, but who knows? So why don't we move on? We spent a lot of time talking about heel hooks and darce chokes and all sorts of exact outcomes. Here is an interesting fight, Matty, where I can't wait to get your take on it, because I have one very strong lean that I was going to ask you about for the safe parlay, but it doesn't mean very much because I think it's what everybody's on here. Mansour Abdul-Malik taking on Nick Klein. These guys both Contender Series alums from last year, both not strangers to firefights. I mean, God, they force-fed Abdul-Malik in his first fight. They gave him Dushko Todorovic. He finished him in less than 3 minutes. And then Nick Klein was this giant underdog against Geraldo Souza in the Contender Series. Got a rear naked choke in 37 seconds. So
what was the number on that? Because I remember. I was on
Klein
the
was like
side.
Yeah, Klein was like a 5-1 dog or something crazy.
Yeah.
So the sub had to be huge in that fight. And he honestly made it look easy. So
yeah.
Teammate of Wes Schultz, I think he replaced Wes Schultz in that fight, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like now he's a big underdog again. He's plus 630. I guess we can see what the submission prop for him is. But what do you think about this spot? Do you think it's another scheduled win for Abdul-Malik, or is Klein a live dog here?
I mean, these are one of these fights that you can take Mansour round one, but if he gets if you don't get it round one, then this fight could go. And if this fight gets really sloppy,
yeah,
you could even see a crazy submission either way. In all honesty, like a crazy guillotine by Mansour or Nick Klein rear naked choke. That's if the fight gets like really sloppy and the guys are tired and there's not an early finish. But I do think Mansour is going to get the round one KO here in this spot. But you can't count out Nick Klein after what he did on Contender Series. That was pretty impressive. Did you see the clip? He's the guy who had the rear naked choke without the hooks in, right?
Yep, it was.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I wonder if they taught him how to put hooks in. If his rear naked choke's even better now.
Doesn't it kind of feel like that was kind of low level shit though, from the Contender Series?
100%.
And it's like, does this guy even belong here?
Yeah,
It's
good insight right here.
Dude,
I'm actually curious because of how big of a dog he is. The round 2-3 for Nick Klein has to be crazy to sprinkle on.
Yeah,
dude, 29-1 in round 2, 40-1 in round 3. You can put a tenth of a unit on each of those pretty comfortably and just assume there's some value there, in my opinion.
Who was the guy, Brendan Marat, who fought Isaac Bulgarian last and said the same thing, that their plan was to basically outlast the other guy and hope he gets tired? It's generally not a good strategy. It usually gets you finished or stopped by a referee at some point, especially when a super powerful dude is throwing punches. I already had this circled. I'm like, I'm putting this in Matty and I say parlay, bro. I love fight doesn't start round 3 at minus 370 here. I think Abdul-Malik is going to go like hell for the first round. And if he gasses himself out, then maybe Klein could indeed find that sub in the second round. Like this feels like a barnyard musical type of fight.
I mean, you want to go under 1.5 at minus 190?
I don't, just because I think that if Abdul-Malik was tired, he might be able to make it to that 8th, 9th, 10th minute. But I mean,
Abdul actually has a round 2 finish that went almost 4 minutes into the round. It was ground and pound.
And I don't feel badly about his cardio from that Contender Series fight. I watched it earlier this week. I was surprised at his longevity as he was beating the crap out of wasn't it Schultz? Wasn't it Nick Klein's teammate? It was Wes Schultz from the same gym. And I generally think Schultz is better than Klein. To me, Klein is a little bit of a BJJ merchant, but I think if this stays standing for a prolonged period of time, he probably gets him out of there in round 1.
Yeah, that's fair.
So what do you think about that for the safe parlay? It doesn't start 3.
I'm cool with it. I mean, I don't mind a Nick Klein round 2-3 sprinkle, but the chances of getting to the round 3 are pretty tough. But if it gets there, I'm live 40-1. So
yeah. I mean, certainly, I think it's that long for a reason. The problem is the fight's minus 800 to not go the distance. I think it's because of what you're talking about, is that if Abdul-Malik doesn't get this finish, it's probably because he's completely gassed and probably not going to see the end of the fight. So,
I mean, Nick Klein's been knocked out before his ground and pound. If you get knocked out at BTC 16 Challenger Series 1 back in 2022,
not good.
The KO is minus 230. If we, it's like, will we even consider that in the cycle parlay?
Oh yeah. For a cycle, I thought you were talking about safe parlay. I was like, I'd rather just play round 1-2 at minus 280, but I
Yeah,
do favor the KO here pretty heavily. So
yeah,
I mean, if we end up seeing a long shot sub or a decision that we like, and then we just want to go chalk at KO,
yeah.
we could. I think I'll be betting round 1-2 KO for Abdul-Malik in this spot, so I'd be good with it.
So what are our KO options in there? It's Mansour, and then what was the one early on?
Ruziboev plus 160
That's
against
right.
Mcconico. I
Okay, so
like
those
that
are our
one.
options so far, but we have a
Yeah.
long ways to go.
At the number, I like Ruziboev a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all righty. Why don't we move forward here? We'll go to light heavyweight, talk about these two fights. Speaking of barnyard musical type of fights, this could be a wild one here between Ivo Aslan taking on Iwan Cutelaba. Really interesting line movement in that this was closer to a pick 'em maybe last week or so, but now Aslan has floated way out here. He's minus 184. Iwan Cutelaba coming back on the other side of plus 142. We have seen him through various wars. Saw him fight Ankalaev twice. Gosh, how many different fights? I think he got knocked out by Kennedy and Zechiku at some point. Like, I mean, Cutelaba is a long time UFC vet for only being 31. Now taking on one of Eric Nixick's probably best sparkling prospects here in Aslan. So what do you think, Matty, about this fight? Do you buy the Aslan chalk in this spot?
I mean, theoretically, it's not a bad matchup for him. I think Cutelaba
Right.
is like 46% striking defense.
Yeah.
He's starting to. It's crazy because he's 31. I'm thinking he's like 37,
Yeah.
but he's actually a young guy. But he's an old guy as far as I think damage and just the kind of fights and wars he's been in.
Right.
I'm not really that high on Aslan, but I don't really know that this is the fight to fade him. It's like, is Cutelaba gonna shoot takedowns, and is he gonna get takedowns? That's what you have to kind of ask yourself. Those are two questions that you don't even know if he's gonna shoot them in the first place. He might kind of get tempted into a war on the feet here. So I don't know. Do you remember when I had Felipe Lins by submission over Cutelaba? He won by decision.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, he's gonna get a guillotine there. And then who got it was Ryan Spann got a guillotine over him. But I don't think Aslan even has that in his repertoire. So
No. I definitely don't think so. I think at this point, Aslan is kind of a rock'em sock'em robot, and it's gone well for him. Super athletic, tough guy. He's faced 8 takedown defense. He stuffed them all. Had that fight that went to the 3rd round against a guy in Anton Turkai, the pleasure man, that I really liked. I thought he was certainly kind of a UFC level fighter that saw a really tough strength of schedule. But I could see a world where Turkai beat Cutelaba, because that's kind of the wild west that we get into in these fights. And it is interesting that Iwan, his last 2 fights have gone to a decision. He's come out and he's told, like, the guys that call the fights, he's told the UFC broadcast, he's like, I'm trying to be more patient. I'm trying to, play things safer. I feel like Aslan could bring that.
Who said that?
Iwan has. He's done the distance in 2 straight after talking about, I need to be more patient. I need to be more measured. And he even got the last win over this is a joke that these names are so close. He fought Ivan Urslan in his last fight, and now he's taking on Ivo Aslan.
Right.
But I mean, I kind of think Aslan is a good matchup for Cutelaba like you. I think if he stuffs the takedowns, he probably does find the finish, but we'll kind of have to see what we like from the numbers, because I wish I had bet Aslan at minus 130, because at this line, it's kind of a pass for me.
Yeah. I mean, Aslan's minus 120 on the KO. I mean, Cutelaba is plus 420 on the KO. Cutelaba's, 13 KOs to his 3 KO losses. It kind of reminds you of RoboCop versus Cannonier, just the pure number aspect of it. You get Cannonier's KO as like a veteran guy, and it's like, 4-1 on the KO number. Yeah. RoboCop's KO number was kind of chalkier.
Yep.
Same thing here. The younger guy here, the KO is a little bit chalkier, and then Cutelaba is like plus 420 on a KO. Yeah. It kind of makes you want to sprinkle on it, over 4-1 odds, and maybe a firefight here. But like you said, this fight could go longer than people think too. That's the other thing to think about here.
Yeah.
What is it, a 1.5 total?
And it's exactly a pick 'em at 1.5. It's minus 110.
I kind of lean over 1.5 at minus 110, to be honest.
Who does that favor if it hits the over?
I think it's pretty even, honestly.
Yeah, I have no idea either. I
think it's pretty even.
I prefer to bet fights in that I'm like early, late, and
It
I feel
favors whoever didn't gas themselves out trying to seek the finish. That's who
Yeah.
it favors. You know, I mean, Eva's never been KO'd. That's why it's plus 420.
Yeah, I mean, he's the young guy. He hasn't lost in UFC. He's, by the way, in terms of striking defense, Aslan's at 64%, but he's also been fighting much easier competition, right? Like Cerqueira, non-UFC level guy in the Contender Series. So we can kind of judge Iwan harshly, but he's been taking on the Bosers of the world, Johnny Walker, Ryan Spann, Dustin Jacoby. Like, you look at the level of competition, it's not even close. I almost kind of, as we look at this, almost feel like it's, you were talking about the sprinkle on Cutelaba knockout. It almost feels like a buy low spot on E1 as the more experienced guy. This line's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I'm not sure, bro. I'm not sure with this fight. I mean, I think Evo gets it done by KO, but I'm not a fan of that number.
What's the sentiment here? I'm wondering. I'm wondering, we have comments that he's going to smoke them in round 1? I kind of like Cutelaba 2-3. Could definitely see that as Aslan is gassing out.
Yeah.
All over the place, man.
Round 1 parlay.
Evo round 1, Ruziboev.
I'm done doing round 1 parlays with 3 legs. I always go 2 for 3 on round 1 parlays, bro. You know what's crazy is I had the craziest deja vu at Circa. Because remember last time I was at Circa last year, I had that 3-fight round 1 parlay, and the last leg was Robert Valentin by round 1 finish, and he had a rear naked choke in twice. That was to win $75,000, and he gave up the choke twice, 2 or 3 times, and then it went to round 2, and he got finished. And then this time around, I come back to Circa. I do a 3-leg round 1 parlay. The last leg is fucking Rodolfo Vieira, dumbest bet ever. I just thought he was going to be too physical early on, but he just couldn't get takedowns, so he was cooked.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about game plan perspective, that was perfect from Petrosky. He approached that fight perfectly, did exactly what he needed to do. You don't see that very often. It's kind of why it's surprising, but I'm with you. That Valentin one was heartbreaking because he said he broke his arm.
The Valentin one was one of my worst.
If he didn't break his arm, he probably had the leverage. He had the position and the leverage to finish that choke, but he said his arm was broken. So you can't only squeeze so hard with a broken arm, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I feel about Ebo round 1 here. I feel like Cutelaba's grown up a little bit from the guy who
I think 2-3 makes a lot more sense for you.
And as we talk about it, I feel like that favors E1 Cutelaba. I had Aslan highlighted in my notes as a win pick, and now I'm not sure. I've kind of talked myself in circles.
Aslan round 2 KOs plus 460, round 3 is plus 700. Cutelaba round 2-3, 16-1, 27-1 on the KO number. Those are big numbers, bro.
Yeah, those are big numbers, especially E1 no career submission attempts. So that's why you see both sub numbers so high here.
Is that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, he's more of a wrestler guy. I've never thought of it. I have never thought of him as a BJJ player the way he got choked out by Spann.
Oh, like Cutelaba?
Yeah, 0 career submission attempts.
He has 2 submission wins.
Were they outside of UFC?
Must have been. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like. Yeah, they were. Oh, wow. A long time ago. I'll have to keep scrolling. I don't even fucking see them on Tapology. It says 2 wins by submission, but I don't even see them.
They were in Moldova somewhere against some guy who is otherwise a bartender in his day. But
I literally don't see them on there.
Can you imagine being some random dude from Moldova fighting Iwan Cutelaba? Absolutely no, thank you. But I guess we'll just kind of move. We definitely don't have a cycle leg here. There's nothing safe parlay about this fight, so we'll move on. We'll talk about the next one because I do think it's a better fight from a betting perspective. Can't wait to get your opinion on this one. A featherweight bout between Melkazel Costa, our boy Melky, coming back taking another one of our boys, Andre Touchy Fili, who we both backed and faded and all sorts of stuff over a long veteran career for him at this point. Young guy versus old guy in this 145-pound division. Fili and Costa, a pick'em, basically. And it's really stayed at this line all week. So, Matty, this question's pretty simple. Who you got, brother?
Did you think Andre looked good in the Cub Swanson fight?
I mean, I think so. Cub's a tough out. Cub's always a tough out. He's not a guy he's a guy that's really hard to look dominant against. I thought he looked fine.
Yeah. I like Melky Costa in general, bro. That's like I like his style. I'm trying to remember what I had. I know I hit on him on a submission one. Oh,
Was it
it was the
Becca?
Nurnberger, yeah.
Yep.
That was a round 3, bro. An absolute fucking sweat.
Yeah.
That was like halfway through round 3. He got that. And then he got chinned by Steve Garcia. I think at this day and age, I think Steve Garcia is honestly better than Andre Fili, or at least obviously more powerful.
No, he's not better. I mean, he's powerful. Yeah, he's a menace,
honestly, well, that gives away who you're taking here for sure. Then you're like Andre Fili.
Well, it's a different match.
You would take Andre Fili and pick him over Steve Garcia right now? I would take Steve Garcia.
No, and here's why: is because I'm worried about Fili's chin.
Exactly. I would go with Steve Garcia there, bro. I think Steve Garcia has crazy momentum right now. Crazy momentum and confidence. Even in the one fight he had lost by knockout, he had looked good. Or no, that was the Masha Tate one now. But look how many wins he has in a row. Chase Hooper round 1, Nurnberger round 2, Melky Costa round 1.
Oh, you're talking about Steve? Yeah, I mean Steve's on a roll.
Steve, dude, he's put away like 4 or 5 guys in a row by round 1 or 2. I would definitely take him and pick him over Andre Fili.
Yeah, I mean Fili's got some chin issues. He's getting up there a little bit.
Yeah.
But like better mixed martial artist if he didn't get finished. Like,
what does that mean though? What does that?
Yeah, it's a good point.
I guess he's more well rounded. Yeah, but like
totally different matchup. Totally different matchup than Steve.
Yeah. What's the odds right now?
So it's basically a pick. I mean, this says Costa minus 115, Fili minus 111. I see it's minus 114, minus 108 right now. So basically a pick.
Dude, Melky Costa has some crazy numbers on the finish prop. KO 6-1, submissions 9 plus 950.
Yeah.
I mean, that's plus 950 is crazy, dude.
So this fight's minus 174 to go the distance, which I'll have to see where I am compared to that with the model, because I'm pretty close. I'm about minus 155 for it to go the distance. So I'm a little bit lower than odds makers, but dude, I like Andre Fili here, and here's the reason why. We have guys we trust, right? I have this guy bets MMA, maybe he bets like 8 fights a year. He bets 8 fights a year. He does not bet that many, and he comes out of the woodwork every so often, and he'll DM me on X and he'll say, "Hey, bud, I'm making a big play on this guy. It's a giant whale of a play." He came out of the woodwork, gave me Andre Fili this week. And I plugged it into my model. I've got Fili at minus 115, so creeping into value range here. I when you look back and I watch that Costa fight against Nurnberger, it's not that impressive. He loses minutes with wrestling to Shaila Nurnberger, who I think isn't even close to as good as Fili. 2.51 takedowns per 15, 43% accuracy. Really, the problem, the UFC matchmakers cooked here, because Fili is a guy that is super hard to sub, and then Costa is a guy that doesn't have a lot of power. So they're almost really at a hard press to finish each other. And I think that leans Fili winning minutes with his wrestling, and I trust him more on the feet. A little bit longer fighter. I think he's got like 3 inches of reach or so. I was not impressed with Costa in his last fight. I cashed the submission win ticket on him, and I was not impressed. I love Fili here, and that guy coming out of the woodwork and telling me he's making a big position on him only exacerbates that feeling.
Yeah. Do you like length in this fight?
Yeah.
Agreed.
I'm almost in. I'm actually showing a little bit of value on the under, but there's no way I'm going to bet it.
Well, over 2.5 minus with 210. So
yeah.
I kind of like round 2-3 for either guy here.
How would you think Costa would finish? Because how Andre's been losing recently, lost to Dan Ige, lost to Joe Anderson Brito, is he gets starched early. Other than that, he's a really hard guy to finish, in my opinion.
No, I think if he's shooting takedowns late in this fight and he's a little bit tired, I do think he can leave his neck out there.
Yeah.
I mean, Costa has 7 submissions. It's funny. Andre Fili's subbed by guillotine to Max Holloway. That was a long time ago. And then who was the sub before that? It was who subbed them before Max Holloway?
That's a crazy trivia question that it was Max Holloway was the one UFC.
Oh, he got
stuff.
triangled back in 2015. Yeah.
That was a long time ago. Oh, he was in UFC.
Yeah.
That's how long he's been in the promotion, dude.
Right,
It's
right.
crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't
I
get
think,
subbed by Bryce Mitchell.
no, that's a good point. But Bryce doesn't have crazy subs, dude.
He has a twister.
I mean, okay. He's just not that slick with his submissions. He's more of a control wrestler.
Yeah, or just beat your face in like he did in his
Yeah.
last fight to Chrome Gracie.
Yeah. I really wish we were getting a 1.5 round line here, but obviously they're not nowhere near that. I don't know what to do with this fight, bro. I do like I do think Melky is live in round 2-3 here, or I think Andre Fili decision. That's my final
I
answer.
I like Fili points here. I've got it. Let's see what I've got it.
Plus
Oh,
230.
I've actually got the most value. I'm pretty sure on Fili KO. I've got it plus 485. What is it on?
Plus 490.
Oh,
That's crazy. You like the same number.
I sometimes, dude, that's even better than showing a lot of value because then it means you're doing something right as far as how you model it, you know. What is going on?
Austin, can you hear us?
I can. That sounds better.
Yeah, Matt just went to grab a drink while I was starting the text. So if you want to just, this is probably a good time to do the slide for Homa Fight picks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, good God. That was the most bizarre thing that I have ever experienced, like in like live. And the StreamYard has been weird today. I can't see the YouTube comments. I've been trying to follow them like on YouTube itself so that I can interact with you guys. And then all of a sudden, because of the day or whatever the hashtag is that we had playing, but I'll go ahead and do this read because it's an important read. It's a good stopping point that if you want picks from a show that doesn't crash out and have the same thing playing and echoing in your ear over and over again, you can get them from my boy Hey Jive or his friend Nolan, the Parlay MMA. These guys have been absolutely crushing it for Homa Fight picks. You see the green numbers up there. They are up. They are up already at least 7.5, 8 units in 2025. It just started a couple months ago. Up over 100 units in 2024 for Hey Jive, and then Nolan's been crushing it as well. These guys absolutely deliver every week. They are true experts at what they do and absolute film gurus. So if you want access to their picks, you can get it through Homa Fight Picks. You can actually use code Seattle for 7 days free, and you'll get all of UFC Seattle's pick for free, so you can try it out this weekend as well. They've got betting, DFS, whatever you wanted to have in there as well. So promo code Seattle, 7 days free. You can visit at the HOF Picks on X, or we'll have a link tagged here in the bio as well as pinned in the YouTube comment section if you want to buy Homa Fight Picks. I respect those guys. I was actually just texting Nolan before we came on here, who was not the guy who gave me that Andre Fili tip, but I think that he definitely has a lean in this fight as well. So appreciate you guys hanging in there through. Did we lose Matty? Did we boot him out? Was he the one who caused the issue? Matty, that was the weirdest thing. And I was just telling the audience.
It had to be StreamYard, bro.
It was.
Yeah. Did USA score?
What'd you say?
USA scored.
Oh, we got Four Nations hockey update. What's the score?
2-1 apparently. I got USA, but I have the under, so I might be cooked.
You never know in hockey. You can get 3 goals.
I need 3-2 final.
Yeah, you never know. So
true.
Any non-haunted thoughts about Andre Fili and Melky Costa before we move on? Because I was just telling.
Let's move on.
Yeah, I'm good to never hear my voice about that fight ever again. Thank you.
Yeah,
so why don't we move on to the main card here? We'll talk about Alonzo Menifield taking on Julius Walker. It's kind of a point of intrigue in the MMA gambling circles this week because we get this guy 6-0, super athletic, but also super raw. Facing a guy in Manfield who was just inside the rankings, and we've seen for quite a bit of time here. Pat Barry's boy, Alonzo Manfield. Matty's minus 245 in this fight. I'm curious, do you have a lean in this one? Because I think it's an interesting betting fight.
Yeah, I was watching Alonzo's interview. Did you hear what he said about Pat Barry?
No, what'd he say?
It wasn't anything bad, but it was just funny how he worded it. He was like, they're like, oh, you don't have Pat Barry anymore. You're not with Pat Barry anymore. He's like, nah, yeah, it's still my boy. We just had like schedule differences. I was like, what does that even mean in MMA?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I feel like I'm not sure what really happened there. I've had my share of good and bad luck in Alonzo Manfield fights. I know that I had a very big bet against him back in the day, Jimmy Crute, the rematch, and I got cooked by a guillotine. But he wasn't. Jimmy Crute was not winning that fight, even if he didn't get caught in that guillotine. And then Alonzo Manfield goes out, looks good against Dustin Jacoby, wins a decision. Very, very close fight, I think. And then the Carlos Ulberg fight, I'm like, what the fuck? He just comes out running forward and gets caught. But his last two fights, like Mcconico and Ulberg, those guys are elite, bro.
Sure.
I'm pretty high on Mcconico. I think he's a stud. I think the guy's just very, very good, very high level. And then obviously we know about how good Carlos Ulberg is. So it is crazy that those odds aren't right, are they?
Yeah, Manfield's like minus 240. They may actually be even bigger now. Manfield is minus 245. What? Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I thought they were a little bit tighter than that. I mean, Alonzo has all the experience. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything everyone in here doesn't already know. If you're betting on Julius Walker here, you're just betting on kind of the better athlete or the guy that has, good height, very, very athletic, very explosive. He seems very confident. I was watching his press conference. He actually followed me on X and IG.
It's a good sign.
Yeah, but every time that happens, I'm always like, is that a sign to bet him, or is that, how it is? I don't know what to do half the time. But this is a tough fight. I kind of feel like it's almost a value spot on Alonzo Manfield just because he's coming off 2 losses. But I mean, look at the guys he's fighting, bro. Jacoby, Ulberg, Mcconico, and now he's fighting a guy that has no fights in the UFC.
Yeah.
He should be able to win this fight. It really depends how he comes out, in my opinion. But he's obviously the more experienced guy. He was on a nice streak. Well, he was on a 1-2. He was on a 4-fight win streak. I don't know. I'm not saying a whole lot here, so I'm gonna let you take the mic.
I don't know if I've got a lot either, just because I think this line is somewhat appropriate. I kind of lean toward Julius Walker when I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, how can Alonzo Manfield only be like minus 240 or something against a guy that barely has any experience? But you go back and you look at some of Manfield's results, lost at distance to William Knight, ugly Devin Clark loss on his resume. Manfield's not a guy that skill is going to blow you away. He goes the distance with a totally washed Ed Herman. And then you look at what's happened to him. He had the guy, Askar Mozahar, the guy who lied about his resume to even get into UFC, if you'll recall. And then Misha Serkinov. Jimmy Crute's a little bit chinny. Justin Jacoby fight was very close. He was actually at a minus 25 striking differential in that fight, got the split decision nod. And then the 2 losses by knockout in a row. I almost feel like it was a little bit fraudulent that he made the rankings in the first place. And it's is this a buy low spot? It's hard to reconcile that. I will say, if Walker's chin holds here, I think based on his reach, based on his volume on the feet, at least from what I've seen in initial taste study, should be able to carry him against a guy in Manfield that really isn't super active, just about 7 significant strikes per minute or so. 49% striking defense isn't very good there. And then there's basically no takedown offense. And as I mentioned, he lost at distance to William Knight, which is flat out embarrassing. So I think Walker is a live dog here if he's able to survive maybe an early onslaught. But some of his striking defense footage is also iffy. I definitely lean the dog. And I lean the dog. I picked him by decision in our expert picks column that we did, because I think if he outlasts Manfield, he probably outpoints him over 3 rounds. And I think Manfield's a hard guy in general to get out of there, especially if you don't profile to have a lot of power, which I don't know if I have that prior on Walker at this stage.
Yeah. Julius Walker by decision is plus 750, bro.
Yeah, I could see late KO as well. Like, what's KO for him?
Plus 430.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of, I kind of lean just his money line at around plus 200. I'm going to see if it keeps rising or not.
Yeah, I mean, only the elite guys have really put away Alonzo Manfield by knockout. I mean, outside of, who was it? OSP put him away, but in 2020, and then his recent 2 losses. Those are the only times he's been knocked out.
I've told you before, I think that it's a little bit more concerning a trend of recent knockouts if a guy's 37, because then you have age starting to match attrition, and it's a little bit scary.
Fair. I'm going to watch a little bit more tape on this fight, if I'm being honest. So I'm not going to give you guys much here, but this fight's definitely not making the cycle for me.
Yeah. I like Walker. I just feel like he's more of a contender series type of guy, but you never know. I definitely feel like Manfield is flawed enough. I felt this way about Steve Erceg in his debut, where I liked what he had going for him. I just didn't know if he would have the tools to get past David Dvorak, and then he did. So maybe the same thing will happen for Walker there. But why don't we move on, because I've got my favorite prop on the entire card in this fight, so I can't wait to tell it to you. John Silva taking on Melsik Bogdasarian in an absolute war of featherweight strikers. These guys both rule at distance, and it's going to be awesome to watch them go to war. A lot of people have Silva at this point from the Fighting Nerds camp. They got him pegged for a potential future champion. And then on the other side, Bogdasarian, a guy that doesn't lose a distance very often himself. So, Matty, what do you think? What do you think of this fight here between Silva and Bogdasarian? And Silva, one of the bigger favorites on the card. He's almost minus 600 as we're sitting here live.
I mean, you guys know how I feel about John Silva by now. This man fucking comes on my podcast, looks me dead ass in the face, and says, I'm knocking out Drew Dober, bet the knockout prop. And so I fucking bet it. If someone comes on your show and tells you that they're not – now, Jamal Hill did the same shit to me when he fought Peloton. He came on my show, told me to bet him against Peloton. I go to that fight live, and Peloton's sleeping before I even sit in my damn seat. Or Jamal Hill's sleeping before I even sit down. But, no, I mean, Gene Silva is a monster, dude. The way he moves is just different. His power, his timing. Dude, he broke his hands in the Drew Dober fight. He's like, oh, I got elbows. I'll use those now. Like, the dude is just literally built different. Yeah. I'm interested to hear what your prop is here. Don't tell me it's Gene Silva by submission.
I love John Silva by
submission. Oh, my God. Don't tell me that.
I am putting the reputation of the Fighting Nerds mantra, taking how if you want to take the appropriate game plan and you want to pride yourself on fight IQ, how is your strategy not to get Bogdasarian into the ground in some way? And it's not like we haven't seen a submission tendency from or a takedown tendency from Silva. He landed a couple in his Contender Series fight, and he's been knocking everybody out since. Like, who would have guessed that his Contender Series fight against Vallejos was actually his toughest fight to date? Why would you not take this? Bogdasarian gave his neck immediately when Josh Cutelaba and him fought, and he got submitted in the second round in that fight. He was winning just because he slipped one time. I feel like Silva training with those Fighting Nerds guys. I don't know what sub is here, but it's way too long. I imagined it would come in a pretty friendly territory. Yeah, Silver by subs plus 750. Crazy. I got to put a quarter unit on that, period.
His only 2 subs are guillotines, bro. Probably guys like shooting takedowns against him. I don't know, dude. He scares me because he's kind of the guy that's like, oh no, I'll beat the kickboxer in his own game. Like,
yeah,
I'll be the better striker. Like, I'll have the better power. Like, there's no doubt. I think he could get it if he wanted to. Who else has he had takedowns against? You said he had 2 against.
He had one. So he had one against Weston Wilson, and then another against Kevin Vallejos on the Contender Series.
Yeah, Weston Wilson, and he won by knockout or punches. And
I agree with you that the problem with betting his submission prop, which I've done twice, I actually did it 3 times. Remember his William Gomi fight got canceled? I bet Silva by sub against Gomi, and it got voided out. Bulldog choke plus 20.
Heel hook, run it the fuck back, bro. I gotta take a peek now. I'm so. What is your preferred? Also, you're the one that likes the submission. How does he get it done if he wins by submission?
I'm not answering that.
Come on, you have to have a vision here. If you think you're
okay,
your vision and takedown.
How about this? Bogdasarian the way Bogdasarian got his back, I will go rear naked choke, which is probably one of the
That's what have been my guess too. Yeah, I mean both these guys' losses are by sub. Rear naked choke, and I don't see the second one. I hate when Tapology does that. They say there's 2 submission losses, but they're not always listed.
It's not an amateur sub, is it?
Oh, here it is. It was back in 2014. It doesn't even say what it was. It just says sub. Yeah, I think rear naked choke too. If he's going to go that path, let's take a look at the exact outcome prop. What's your guess on the number? The sub is plus 750 on FanDuel. So what do you think the exact submission prop on a rear naked choke would be?
15-1.
Let's see if it's even listed first of all. $8 to 1 on rear naked choke. Terrible. That's because you're comparing apples to oranges because it's not FanDuel. It's FanDuel to another site.
Ah, got you.
Because the submission here on this site is plus 650. So they're pretty much agreeing that that's the rear naked choke's pretty much the path. It's like the same number almost.
What I think that comes from is how quickly Bogdasarian gave his neck in that Cutelaba fight. I was stunned that Cutelaba was able to get to the back so quickly, and it's not like Cutelaba is this crazy jiu-jitsu guy, and it looks like Melsick really struggles in that department. That's why I think this tests the fighting nerd mantra. I would be more impressed with Silva if he showed that. I know this dude can knock guys out, and Bogdasarian, compared to where he ranks at featherweight, Bogdasarian is probably a top 15 just striker. If it's just 15 minutes of striking, the guy is electric. I still remember the way he absolutely blasted up. God, who was it? He got Colin Anglin in that fight years ago. Just absolutely destroyed him. Bogdasarian, by the way, gave up 3 takedowns in his last fight against Tucker Lutz since cut by UFC. So
let me ask over in Mcconico, bro. I'm texting them.
Okay.
I'll be like, which one of these are possible for Gene Silva?
But the problem with betting this is he has faced so little resistance on the feet that he just hasn't even had to think about it.
Yeah.
Bogdasarian's striking numbers are so good. Plus 2.22 striking success rate, 61% striking accuracy. It's 93rd percentile of featherweight. 58% striking defense is 85th percentile.
Yeah.
He's so good on the feet.
This is a good comment because these odds tightened a little bit, right? Yeah. I believe I saw Silva over minus 700, and then it came back to reality a little bit because this is a way closer fight in the odds. It's one of these fights that Gene Silva is. By the way, my buddy's holding a future ticket on Silva, and like Topuria moving up was like the greatest thing ever fucking happened. You know, Silva to be a champ by the end of the year is now possible.
Yep.
If he comes out and puts on a great performance in this fight, he's 2 fights away.
Yep, I totally agree.
So,
how about yesterday was a good day for my Alexander Volkanovski featherweight future. That's for sure.
What number did you get on that?
I'll double check. I'm pretty sure it was like 8 or 9 to 1.
That's a really good fucking day.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, even if he loses this fight, he's still kind of live. I mean, you need to win this fight. But
yeah, I need to win this fight.
But the way the division is, you just don't know. You know, if it's like a razor close fight, you just don't know.
It's funny. The reason I bet it is because I thought there was going to be some shenanigans with Ilya forfeiting this belt. I was exactly right. He's just built different, that guy. He's just bizarre. But it's like, I agree with that comment that said this is a pretty – how about this? Silva sub or points is plus 145. Basically fading the KO, but he wins.
I got you. Yeah,
I like that a lot. That's going to be like my primary bet here because he did go the distance with another really good striker, good boxer, Kevin Vallejos on the Contender Series.
But that dude's seriously good by hands, bro. His hands are ridiculous.
Yeah, and I've warned you before. I warned you before. We didn't actually do the show together. I was moving, so we didn't do Silva Dober. But you and Hayjive did it together, and I chimed in. I've been on banging this train. Dober's attrition got knocked out by Matt Favola. I was worried for him in that fight that Silva was going to find a way to stop him. Yeah. I feel much better about Bogdasarian going the distance than I did Dober.
Should I DM Silva, bro?
Tell him and now we're getting into sketchy territory with this if we tell him to go for
it. But his English is so minimal. I'll just be like submission. I'll put like the eyes emoji,
and he'll just send you back like a chokehold emoji or something like the flex.
Oh my god! I'll tell you this offline, but all right. You're getting me there on Silva by sub. I know his abilities can get that done. It's just a matter of will he do it.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's will he do it. I think
Will
if
he
there
do
is
it?
a spot, that's what I put in expert picks. If there's a spot, this is going to be it. So we'll see
Yeah.
how he ends up going about it. I cannot wait to get your thoughts on this fight here next.
My boy Gene Matsumoto cashed me 46,000 fucking last year.
We have been all over Gene Matsumoto. I loved him against Brad Katona, bro, and I cashed him by decision in that fight. And now he's getting the step up. It could Gene Matsumoto in the rankings already. We'll see if he can get through Rob Font. He's minus 170 to do so. But Rob Font turned back Adrian Yanez. He turned back Kyler Phillips.
Mhm.
Does he turn back another prospect here out of the red corner? He was supposed to fight Dominic Cruz in a retirement fight. Talk about a horrible downgrade for him. That was a super winnable fight against a guy made of glass. And now it's this young, dangerous guy in Matsumoto. So what do you think? Can John get it done?
I mean, I just love John Matsumoto in general.
Yeah.
This is a tough fight because it's kind of similar to the last fight in a way, just because Katona's so durable and Rob Font's the same way. Different style and different matchup, but he's gradually. We were actually arguing on the podcast that is this like I think Moicano was saying this is like kind of throwing him in the deep waters here. It's too big of a step up. Either Moicano or Gilbert said that. I can't remember, but
Interesting.
I think this is a proper step up for him. You went from, you beat Dan Argueta by sub. That's what cashed me the 46K on the 2-leg submission parlay, or it was a sub and a KO, I think.
Yep.
And then, his next fight comes out against Brad Katona. I feel like people were a little bit low on him because he didn't get a finish. I'm like, the dude's 16-0. Brad Katona is very durable, had never been put away.
Yeah.
And, now he's facing Rob Font. Do you think he's going to have success mixing in the takedowns in this matchup?
I mean, he should. Font's takedown defense just 44%. If a guy can wrestle, that's typically why you're going to see Font at plus money. And like the Yanez matchup, the Kyler Phillips matchup, Phillips did get 4 takedowns, but he kind of gassed himself out in the process.
Yeah.
Like, does it come more naturally for Matsumoto? But I got to be honest with you, I'm worried about Rob Font's chin in this matchup. I think Matsumoto hits like a ton of bricks, dude. I am surprised knockout is plus 900 here.
Yeah, but dude, if he hurts Rob Font, it's definitely gonna be a club and sub, in my opinion.
Wow, yeah, that's it. He's shown the tendency to jump on the neck, so that's a great point, Matty. I think you're better off playing the inside the distance plus 380. It's a good enough number that why risk it, But
you're betting against a guy who hasn't been put away, right?
Yeah. I just think there's an athleticism difference here and a big one. And you say, well, he hasn't been put away.
Oh, he's been subbed once.
Yeah, Chito Vera dropped him 3 times. Jose Aldo.
Dude, that fight was he was literally landing so much on Chito, and then just one big shot every time Chito would just hit him with something, and he feels like the damage is just different. That has to hurt him, the way he wears damage, because he's 8-7 when fights go the distance,
Yeah.
But like, I'm gonna be honest, dude. I was looking at Matsumoto in the decision lay on the cycle.
Wow.
Only because we always talk about this. We like taking favorites against a super durable guy for the decision leg. This meets all the criteria here. We get the younger guy, we get the undefeated guy, we get him against a guy who hasn't been put away except one time, right? And it meets all the criteria, but it still scares me because I still deep down want to take this sub.
Yeah. We'll see. This is a tougher card for decisions than I actually anticipated. If some spirit hadn't haunted us about Andre Fili, I think maybe Fili would be a guy I'd look at for a potential decision.
Oh, there's no exact outcomes listed, or exact outcomes.
Oh, you talking about submission outcomes?
Yeah.
Well, what would you even go here? Because I feel like guillotine jumping on the sub.
Guillotine, or like some sort of front choke, I think.
Yeah. Matsumoto cost me my only 5-unit bet ever on the Contender Series.
I like Matsumoto, dude. I think he's the real deal.
I do too. I don't believe this is a huge step up because I don't think the difference between Katona and Rob Font is as big as people think.
I'm gonna tell you, I hate to say this after what you already said to me, but I'm gonna tell you what I'm hammering in this fight, as a big straight bet.
What?
I know I'm gonna 100% go Matsumoto by decision or submission. It brings that juice down to minus 130 range.
Really?
Save 40 cents on the dollar. I just don't see Rob Font's chin being put away. The dude Like if he gets hurt, he's just going to go to the ground. He's not getting put out cold, in my opinion.
Okay.
And then Matsumoto is going to sub him, or he's just going to win on the scorecards. So, someone said he's an anaconda. This is the guy that hit that fucking parlay right here. This is the guy that hit the heel hook parlayed with the Von Fluchuk. So I'm listening.
I better be careful. He's going to replace me on this show because he's all in with you.
No, he's replacing me, bro. I'm the long shot guy. He's replacing me. Anaconda, that's a crazy call. We'll have to see if that's up tomorrow or by Saturday. I don't see it up right now.
You have a first VIP access to tomorrow's UFC Seattle call-in show. Like whenever you want, they will rush you to the front of the line if you want to come on and give exact outcomes. Because the Gabriel Bonfim choke last week is an insane call. Anybody, Matty, I think your call on Walter Walker was pretty insane. 2 in a row, heel hook. Good call. Yeah. Dontel Mays apparently hasn't worked on the defense of that at all since he lost that way to Cyril Gane.
I couldn't believe how easy he got the takedown.
It was so easy. It was so easy.
Bro, I'll say one thing. Walter Walker's a big fucking guy, dude. I didn't realize how big he actually was until I was right next to him. Like, I know he's a heavyweight, obviously, but, like, he's much bigger. He's an inch or two taller than Johnny, and he's, like, way thicker. Like, and Johnny's a tall dude, you know?
Yeah. Yes, I think Walter is now in great
shape. I want to
shape.
see Walter versus Sergey Spivak. That's the matchup I want to see.
Oh man, that is very interesting.
Because I don't want to throw him into like a Jalton Almeida type grappling, but like Sergey Spivak's an interesting one to me.
I don't know if I want to see that fight because I think Spivak wins it, and I'd rather.
I think right now Spivak wins it, but I think in a few fights it gets interesting.
Well, I think Spivak just wins that with his hands defending takedowns. So, but we'll see. All right. Yeah, I think the submission decision angle is interesting because you make a good point that Font, even though he's gone down, he hasn't gone out. My fear is just that he's 37. Now, his striking defense, his head defense number is still top 80% of
Yeah.
It's
crazy is we're talking about all these outcomes. It's like minus 170 is not a bad price on the money line.
No.
If you're going to take Rob Font here, I think you just play the decision prop.
I see Font such a popular underdog pick, dude. I almost feel like maybe I do throw Matsumoto in the safe parlay money line here. I feel so good about John in this spot.
Font by points plus 230.
He's not finishing Matsumoto in any way. So if you like Font, just bet him by points.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm going double chance. Final answer, Matsumoto. We'll see if the sub parlay.
We'll see
if I get down the sub, but
you saying that about his money line was fantastic news for the safe parlay. I'm glad to. Yeah, by the way, you've been helping me cook these safe parlays, and it's gone well.
You've been, dude. How many in a row have you hit?
So we've hit 5 of 6, I think. 5 of 6 safe parlays.
5 of 6. Now one leg was canceled, but still not bad.
It was like a minus 187 after the canceled leg, so it wasn't great. But if you bet a unit, you still brought home a little bit.
I can't wait to hear your opinion on this one, bro.
Dude, I have a specific lean, but it's not on a fighter in this spot. And these are really two guys that I think
Let me guess.
Let me introduce the fight, and then you can guess. Anthony Hernandez taking on Brendan Allen in our middleweight co-main event. Matty's guy, Fluffy Hernandez. He's been here all the way through the title run, all over his props and long shots. And God, it feels like every time Fluffy gets in there, Matty, you're catching something for like 20-1, 30-1.
Round 3 TKO, 28-1. I think the number was.
Didn't you play round 5 in the last fight with him?
No, I played his round 3. Against who was it? But the crazy thing is I played the TKO. I didn't play the round 3 finish.
Oh, okay.
That's why I paid so big. Because everyone loved obviously if you're Fluffy, you're gonna get subs all the time. But the KO, I was like, I called the ground and pound late in that one.
Yeah, but anyway, he's taking on Brendan Allen. Let me get that out of the way. I don't want to shine over Brendan Allen because he's a damn good MMA fighter in his own right. This co-main event rocks.
Oh, you're right. My bad. Michelle Pereira. So I played round 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
So I was sweating round 2. I was like, oh, I'm not even gonna get to round 3. And then round 3 comes, and I'm like, oh fuck, it's now round 5. I'm like, now he's not even gonna finish him. And then dude, that ref should have stopped the fight like 3 or 4 different times.
Oh, it was
Michelle's corner should have stopped that even. I mean, it was an absolute onslaught. Once Michelle Pereira was gassed. So yeah, I hit the round 5 against Michelle Pereira. I hit the round 2 sub on Roman Kopylov, and then I hit the round 3 TKO on Emin Shabazian. So I'm pretty sure Fluffy is like my most profitable fighter of all time.
Wow.
He's got to be. Like him, Paul Craig, and Jordan Levitt. Those are the three. Those are the three. The most random fucking guys you can imagine.
Well, Craig gave some back against Kaio, so it's definitely.
Yeah, but when you hit for fucking 38-1, it doesn't matter.
That's true. So let me ask you, with him taking on Brendan Allen, these guys have actually fought before outside of UFC. How do you feel about the betting line? Because Fluffy's minus 340 here, and then we'll get to the total.
Wide as shit. I'll tell you one thing right now. If it was minus 340 on a 5-rounder, sign me up.
Okay.
Minus 340 on a 3-rounder is really tough to swallow because, to me, look at the Rodolfo Vieira fight. Rodolfo almost ragdolls Anthony in round 1, then it changes very quickly, and then Hernandez gets the finish in round 2. But then look at what Petrosky did to, in round 1. He defended everything. And then you look at, on the flip side, Brendan Allen comes out. I was at that fight live in Paris, comes out and throws fucking Imavov to the ground in the first 30 seconds of the fight. So I think this is a complete mismatch in the first round. I think Brendan Allen's the more explosive guy. I think it's an easy 10-9 round. But you bet Fluffy money line if you want to take him. So I think Brendan Allen wins this first round. I think from there, I think Fluffy probably 2-3, but I think round 2 is very close. And I think round 3 is convincing the Fluffy, but this price point to me is for a 5-rounder. I don't think he should be that big of a favorite in a 3-rounder. If Brendan Allen's got to trust his striking more, that similar to the Imavov fight, he stops trusting his striking and starts telegraphing takedowns. But I just don't see Fluffy at the same level of striking that Imavov is at.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of I think Brendan Allen should be like a plus 150, plus 170 dog here with Fluffy at like a 2-1 favorite, in my opinion. But again, if this is a 5-rounder, I think it's an easy bet on Fluffy. I think Brendan Allen has a round to finish this fight. I think he's got to try to finish it early.
Yeah, how about this? This was a fascinating fight to model. I was looking at this like I was looking at exact outcomes because I'm like, this is crazy what it thinks of these guys statistically, because they really are statistical outliers. Like both of them in a way put up kind of video game numbers for UFC fighters. They're just not very average. And then Allen is a very high submission attempt rate guy. Fluffy's stats and takedowns and submissions, it looks like a video game, dude. This is not, his cardio is unreal that allows him to put forth this sort of volume. He's very accurate and efficient with his strikes because most of them come in close. I've got Fluffy minus 215 in this spot. So how do you feel about that? I feel like that would be a fair price.
That's
minus 215. Yeah.
2-1 favorite, bro. That's way more accurate. I mean, the value is clearly on Brendan Allen money line.
Yeah. So
I want to bet it. I don't know.
So yeah, I can't bet Fluffy's money line, even though I do think he wins 73% of the time. But here's the bet I love in this fight. These guys went 25 minutes before they had both turned 25 minutes. I love violence in this fight, even though it's 3 rounds, bro. I love it. Give me the under all day, every day. I've got it like 94% modeled to finish based on the rates of knockdowns and submissions from these guys. Allen, poor striking, head defense. Fluffy can get hurt to the body. He's got poor striking defense in general. And I think most of Brendan Allen's upset equity is baked into a finish, whether it's hurting Fluffy on the feet or finding a sub off his back. And Fluffy's a guy who it's a little scary to take the under because of how long it took Fluffy to get Michel Pereira out of there. But we've seen Allen finish that distance twice, and the pace in this fight.
Well, also Allen, Paul Craig was round 4, I believe.
Yeah. It took them a while, but it almost makes me wonder, do they shift gears because this is only 3 rounds instead of 5 rounds and really lay it all out there? Because you can't be as patient as you are in a 5-rounder where you have all of the. We saw Gregory Rodriguez get bit last week because he was in a 5-round fight and really kind of went for the kill early. And when he didn't get it, he was clearly a little bit down on gas. So I found it interesting. The model is so convinced that this fight is going to finish inside the distance and is plus money. I'm not going to force it into the safe parlay, but I'm playing violence here and rooting for both of these guys to go to war.
Yeah. I just think it's very hard to finish Fluffy unless you really find his chin early.
Or the body, Marcus Perez was able to hurt him to the body a long time ago.
That's true. I'm torn here, bro, because it's hard to ignore the value side with these money line odds, and then I can't. It's hard to go against my boy who's just printing me money.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy that Brendan Allen subs 11-1 and Fluffy's only plus 380. I mean, I guess it's just because the odds of the fight, the money line.
Yeah. So let me get some props converting for you. So I've got the most likely outcome in the fight, Fluffy sub plus 180. That's what I've got it at. Okay. I've got it. And then Allen knockout.
That's crazy value then. That's crazy.
Allen knockout, I've got plus 360. So that's showing insane value relative to odds makers. And then I've got Allen sub after that, plus 425. And then you'll see why I love violence in this, because all these are going to show value. And then I've got Fluffy KO plus 440. And then almost all of the decision equity is with Fluffy.
Brendan Allen rear naked choke is 9-1.
I wouldn't go rear naked. I almost kind of like think
that's crazy. It's the submission's 11-1 on FanDuel.
Yeah. I would get I would think like maybe a triangle choke or an armbar off his back in this fight.
Triangle choke's 25-1 for Brendan Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to bet against Fluffy,
how does he sub him? Dude, you know what he got? You know what I can absolutely see in this fight? Oh my God. Hold on. I have to see what this is, Joe. I think I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. This could pay big.
Are you looking at an exact Fluffy outcome right now?
Oh wow, they called that Rodolfo Vieira choke an arm in guillotine choke. I thought that was a Darce.
The Vieira? Yeah. I guess I can see arm in guillotine. That should be a fight that I rewatch before this one. But
Fluffy by Darce is plus 1600. The only reason I can see that is just like when Brendan Allen gets tired, he shoots those or if he gets hesitant on the feet, he shoots his like telegraph takedowns. You know, Fluffy kind of stuffs that and puts him on the ground and then just locks that Darce in. I can totally see that, bro.
have you ever seen this before? That Fluffy Hernandez to win in round 1 is plus 750. Round 2 is plus 650. It's shorter in round 2 than it is round 1. I've never seen that before.
It's so obvious. It's just the books know his cardio and they know he gets hurt in round 1.
Yeah,
Bro,
he does.
So Fluffy guillotine is 6-1.
Okay.
And Fluffy Darce choke is 16-1. I think those are both the most likely outcomes if he gets the submission.
I don't feel like Hernandez's squeeze is very good, though. Is that
You
fair?
see that squeeze? You see the squeeze against Rodolfo Vieira on his
Yeah, but
guillotine?
Vieira was gas. Vieira was totally
but a
gas.
hell of a squeeze.
Yeah. I just think from a physicality perspective, Fluffy's down against most guys in this division. He's more of a long.
Don't we feel like when we see two high level grapplers, we're starting to be more common. We see that Darce choke.
Yes.
Like you're not a lot of times you're not seeing like a rear naked choke again when it's too, like look at Mcconico versus Islam, right? Like when it's really good grappling matchups, they seem to get caught in like Darces or like it's not typically like a rear naked choke or I don't know. I just feel like in this type of grappling matchup. Now again, we could just see a 3-round strike fest. If this fight's on the feet 3 rounds, what do you make the odds of? Who do you take?
I think Allen would be favored, but the problem is, Matty, both of these guys analytically have really bad takedown defense. So it's a little different than how I saw Vieira Petrosky, where I felt like both guys were going to be hard to take down for each other. In this fight, I don't think these guys have very good takedown defense in general. So I could see a lot of scrambles. I could see a lot of one guy gets a takedown, then the other guy is able to reverse it and get a takedown. This to me has fight of the night written all over it. I think it's going to be back and forth, and a guy's going to find a late finish here.
Fair.
It could be Allen. It could be Fluffy. And typically in a long haul sort of race, I might just go super chalk and play Fluffy 2-3 here. But I am going to absolutely play this under. I love it. And to me, the over is juiced in
under
this fight.
2.5 or fight to not go the distance?
Fight to not go. I think it's like plus 125. Fight to not go.
Okay.
It's plus 124 on FanDuel right now. And the reason why I think it looks this way, I think I'm getting inherent value because these guys went all 25 minutes a bit ago. in LFA back in like 2018, but they were kids at that point. Now they're
Yeah.
grown men and they're dangerous dudes. So I love the under in this fight.
Oh yeah, there's an anaconda. Someone was talking about that anaconda earlier. Let me see what that pays. Wow, Brendan, how my anaconda is 50-1. Fluffy by anaconda.
Are you talking about that because that's how Perez got Hernandez back in the day?
16-1. I'm out on that, bro. All right, let's move on, bro. We got to go to the main event.
right.
Go ahead.
Let's do it. I think that fight should be the main event, but this one's not a bad one at all. And you know, Henry Cejudo is a former champion versus those guys haven't won a championship, so I get it. So Henry Cejudo taking on Song Yadong, kind of a past and present sort of fight where Song is coming off that tight fight against Piotr Jan, right? Cejudo has fought 2 times since coming out of retirement. Super close potential decision against Aljo didn't go his way. Then he fights Merab, who we've now learned is a machine, drops him in that fight, and then loses a decision. He got picked up and put in front of Donald fight and all that good stuff. Those theatrics of Merab in that fight that got a title shot. So Henry's 37 at this point, and I think that's why you see Song at minus 310 in this spot. But do you feel like Song's a guy that can win this fight comfortably to a point where you feel good about taking a minus 310 money line? Or like, do you feel like that's fair in how you would line the fight?
Not really. No, so Song Yadong's my guy.
Yeah.
I've had some good wins on him. What I'll say is like this line's pretty much like, oh, Henry Cejudo's a little bit washed, but he's just. How can you say that based off of his last 2 losses? You know, I mean, he came out and almost dropped Merab in round 1, loses a decision. And then he goes to a split decision with Aljamain. Those are 2 of the best in the world, you know. And then look at his fights before that. Finishes Marlon Moraes, finishes Dominic Cruz, finishes TJ Dillashaw. So it's like, what have we seen to make us think he should be a plus 230 dog really against anyone here?
Yeah.
And he should be able to get takedowns in this fight. The problem that I have with it, and I think the reason that he's this big of a dog is it's a 5-rounder against a dangerous guy. And Cejudo's really – I don't see Cejudo putting Song Yadong away. If he was a better submission artist, you know, maybe he would have a chance to do that. But Peter Yan couldn't put Song Yadong away. And the problem I have with this fight is Cejudo could be in this fight. It could be 1-1. It could be 2-1. But, like, Song Yadong carries power late in fights. He could catch him at any point. It could be round 3, round 4, we saw his round 5 win against
Ricky Simone. Yeah.
Ricky Simone, you know. So, like, he carries power late in fights, and he's now had some experience in 5-rounders. Simone, Corey Sandhagen. So I think in a 3-rounder, this number is really close or a lot closer. But I think it's a little bit wider because it is a 5-rounder and just because – you know, Cejudo has to fight a perfect fight, whereas Song could lose a few rounds, but he's still dangerous at any point in the fight. So that's what I kind of think could happen here. It's hard to think that Cejudo's washed. Like, I just don't see that. So it's a very tough fight to bet on.
Yeah, it is. It's just a weird betting line, in my opinion. And it's like, I'm not rushing to the window typically to back a 37-year-old Henry Cejudo, who probably is the worst athlete of these 2 at this point. But, like, what have we seen from these guys that justifies this betting number? Where Song Yadong at distance against Chris Gutierrez, a guy that has kind of fallen out of the rankings. He pulled guard in the Song Yadong fight. Minus 38 striking differential distance to Gutierrez. So Gutierrez was winning at distance against him. Then the Jan fight, we love Piotr Jan. We know he's really good. Doesn't end up going his way. Piotr definitely won that 2-1. He got stopped, doctor stoppage in the Corey Sandhagen fight. Like, Henry Cejudo is a lot better than Ricky Simone, okay? Like, the last time we saw him against, like, this short, stocky wrestler, it went his way. But that's because Henry has legitimate hands. He's 60% striking defense, nearly the same striking success rate at distance. Like, everything about this fight seems to me like it's going to be pretty darn close. And both guys have knockout power. Cejudo quietly, 0.7% knockdown rate. It's not that far behind Song. So, like, I don't think it's crazy to see either guy dropping each other in this fight, but overall, I think it's a pretty close one. I like Cejudo money line here, which I imagine is going to be very close to KO decision because my model sees very similar. I've actually got KO a little more likely for Cejudo than decision because it's a 5-rounder, but I'm pretty evenly split between those two. So I just like Henry money line. I've got this fight almost 50%. I've got only Song a 51.2% favorite here. So I just don't know where Song pulls away and wins in convincing fashion.
Yeah.
Where's
I'm
Henry?
looking at Sonny down by decision at plus 130. I think it's going to be a sweaty 5 rounds, but that's where I would lean, bro.
Yeah. I think it's a good lean in that it's pretty close. I get where my model's coming from, but I have a hard time seeing either guy finishing each other. Like just as me.
Yeah. Repeat that? What did you say the model was on?
It likes Cejudo KO as its favorite prop in this fight. I've got it.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got it plus 285. I'm sure it's a much larger number than that.
Oh, for sure.
Total. But at the same time, when have we seen Song hurt or knocked out or dropped? Like,
I can't recall.
He had the doctor's stoppage against
he was good. He was straight in that fight, you know.
Yeah.
He wanted to keep going.
Yeah.
Henry Cejudo by knockout is plus 900, so that is insane value per your model. Yeah, it's a tough fight, bro. I think Sonny Don by decision. I think he wins 3 rounds to 2. You know, I think it's going to be a frustrating loss for Cejudo after losing to Aljo 3 rounds to 2, and after losing 1 round to Merab. Like, I just see him being a little bit short, no pun intended. Right? Like, I think he's just going to come up a little bit short here and lose a decision by 49. Like, it's going to be 3-2. That's the way I see this fight going. I'm not overthinking it. I'm going Sonny Don by decision. I do feel like his power is live late in the fight, though.
Yeah.
I'm not rolling out like a 4-5 KO, but I just think Cejudo's chin and his preparation will be enough to go the distance here.
ShadySportsbook.com, Cejudo plus 5.5 points is plus 100. I like that because that's like a round or two, like give or take some close rounds moving around on the scorecards. Like I like the spread. I'd rather just bet Song by decision at that rate, though. I mean, I guess Cejudo can win a decision, though. That's what I mean. Like if it's close and it ends up going Henry's way, then you don't lose for basically the same read that you have. So it's like it just depends kind of what side you want to back. I don't blame it. I think Song is just like if it's a tight decision, who would they prefer wins this?
Well, obviously
Song because like Cejudo has just such a limited ceiling with the promotion at this point, and that doesn't necessarily matter, but at the same time, it's tough to see him coming. So, Matty, it sounds like we've had a tough time deciphering like specific leans. So why don't we go to our parlay builder and see what we can cook up for the folks?
Let's run it, bro.
So last week we confidently sent the cycle and we went 0 for 3.
Oh yeah.
So state of the union on the cycle. Do we want to do the safe parlay first, or do we want to something up? Okay. Like the waving hand for the push there.
Hey, that's a cash. The win's a win.
Yeah, a win is a win. We'll take it on the record.
Hey, I was gonna say it was sweat free, but nah, because your boy was in a couple guillotines.
Well, okay, so I feel like Aguilar could have found a knockout in round 3 if he had just committed to striking, but instead he kept shooting takedowns. And I'm like, thank you so much for shooting takedowns, because I thought Esteban was in a world of trouble, and I'm gonna fade that dude's cardio the first opportunity I get. There's nothing you learn more as a UFC bettor than being on the right side of a long ticket. Song to win and over 2.5
here. Song in the over, yeah. Because then you get the kind of the safety of if he gets a late KO, which I think is possible. So I kind of like that number.
Sometimes you can do same game parlays in UFC, like Song fight starts round 3 as well. Yeah. So for the safe parlay, Matty, I put in here. I was like, I wanted to do Abdul-Malik Klein doesn't start round 3. It's minus 370. Don't even know who would be winning if it did start round 3. So I was going to go no on fight starts round 3 minus 370 on that fight.
What's the number?
Minus 370 for Abdul-Malik Klein to not start round 3.
I'm in on that for sure.
Okay. And then you talked me into, I think, a great angle because decision
I'm gonna
should
put
be.
these in the Telegram or in the chat, so Mike will rip up a slip.
Yeah, I will. So John Matsumoto money line then minus 168 on FanDuel.
Done, and let's call it a fucking day, bro.
You
What's
slap
that?
those together, it's plus 102.
You get plus money on that?
Yeah.
That's free, bro. No, it's not free. I can't say that when you're against Rob Font, but I like that a lot.
Yeah. So
I like that safe parlay a lot, bro.
I sent this over, so we'll see if we can get
All
that
right,
up there.
and let's cook up this cycle. I already know a consensus KO prop. I'm just gonna say it, and you're gonna agree. You ready? Nursultan Ruziboev by KO plus 160. Are you in?
Yes.
Is there any other ones that? I mean, we could go chalk at minus 230 on what's his name, but
Abdul-Malik I want nothing to do with that fight other than I think it's just a sloppy, violent affair.
yeah. So we're aligned. Nursultan, please, Nursultan, don't be a fucking fraud again, bro. You're not a fraud. Prove you're not a fraud, okay? Just prove it. You have 12 in the KOs in your career. This is number 13.
Yep.
So we're locking in Ruziboev by KO at plus 160. I'm starting to get there on your crazy fucking Gene Silva plus 750.
Let's go.
I really am. I just want to hear it from like a Brazilian. Like I didn't ask him directly, but I did DM Silva. And then I texted Gilbert and Moicano. I just want to know that he will go for it. That's all I want to know. I know he can get it, but like I just want to know that he'll go for it.
Well, we've been talking about exact outcomes on the show this whole time. So are there any subs that you would consider that you feel better about guys going for?
Yeah, I mean, there's subs that I would consider over it, but the number's not near what that is. You know, there's I mean, you could look at a fluffy plus 380. But it's it's 3 rounds, bro. It's not easy to get it against Brendan Allen.
Yeah.
You could look at
it is. I
could look at a Mcconico sub, but I know you're not aligned on that one. Javid Basharat is an option. I think you're on the other side of that one too. I mean, it's like, what are the other options? I don't think this is a huge submission card. I mean, I do think Mcconico is live for one.
It's a better sub. It's like a better sub card for like long shots rather than like a cycle leg sub.
See, me personally, I have to highly consider running it back with Matsumoto, bro. Like the dude's just paid me on the sub prop.
It is, what is it? It's plus 650. Which John do we want to take by subs?
Right,
Matsumoto.
I will say this: your John has the better grappling matchup. Yes. Well, no, not really. It's very similar. It's pretty identical, actually. I might just go John squared submission parlay. That would pay huge.
that is a fun like long shot outside of.
Yeah. What does the chat think? I'm seeing Matsumoto sub. We need numbers on Matsumoto Anaconda. Yeah, I don't think that's on the board right now. Alonzo Manfield sub in the cycle. He's got a nasty guillotine, bro. If Julius Walker gets crazy, he might get stuck in that. That'd be crazy.
We just know so little about Walker. That could feel free in hindsight. Yeah.
What did that pay? I'm just curious.
Manfield sub?
Yeah. I don't think we even looked at that. Plus 430. It doesn't even attract me.
That is a really short number for.
Yeah. I got to be honest, bro. My options for the sub is Fluffy, either the Jeans or Johns, and Matsumoto. No, we already said that.
Let me throw this out there, just as a method of thinking.
Basharat. I like Basharat too, but that one's really hard.
So on Fluffy sub, I've got it. Let's see I've got it. The most likely outcome of the fight. I've got it. I gave it to you earlier. I've got it plus 180. It's plus 380. We haven't seen the cycle go through in a bit. If we are sitting and that is the last leg of the cycle, Fluffy always comes through for you. He always comes through for you, bro.
When's the last time Brendan Allen's even been subbed, bro?
I don't even know if he has been as a pro.
I already can see it, dude. I can see it. I'm on the last leg. Brendan Allen's gassing, and Fluffy lays the ground and pound. And I hate my fucking life, bro. Yeah, he's one submission loss. I think we talked about that. It was a long time ago.
Yes, and Paul Craig was able to muster a submission attempt against him, but like
Trevin Giles, dude, so random. What the-
Trevin Giles, when his chin holds, is a mythical figure.
I do think that Doris, that Anaconda, guillotines all live for Fluffy. He's gonna have attempts.
I think I'm gonna play round 2-3 sub in this fight. So,
all right. I hate to do this, everyone, but I'm not locking in an official cycle tonight. I hate doing that, but I'm just not, bro. I need a day. I need to talk to a few people. I need to watch some more tape. I'm gonna give you guys 2 legs though. We're going Nursultan Ruziboev by KO.
okay.
Let's identify the decision leg next.
So here were a couple options I was gonna give you. We talked about Bukauskas 3-1. It's a little scary because Cerqueira went out so
It's fight of the night too, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we lose, we can at least throw in a backup cycle.
Worth noting, we don't have any women's MMA fights on this card, which is usually where we'll go for us a cycle leg. But
yeah,
I like Fili decision a lot.
That's crazy. I kind of like Sonya Dawn as the decision leg.
Okay. I definitely could see it cashing. It's just like I think it's going to be enormously sweaty for both of them.
Yeah, I mean the problem is we could go. I'm not big on the Andre Fili side, but I know you are. That's definitely an option. Javid Basharat's an option, but you're kind of against that side. What the Vanderford fight could be an option to go decision, but it's not on the board yet.
Veretennikov points is somewhat live there. I kind of
this is a tough cycle card, bro. I think I need a day to put it all together, boys.
Now we've been doing it, like if you don't want to do an official cycle leg, we've given this out before.
On a cycle leg.
What if but I know you do a cycle leg for everyone. What if for our show we do the long shot and lock in the John double sub parlay, and that's the official sub parlay for the show this week. Like that's
do we want to do the sub or just the finish for both?
Oh, I mean, I thought we wanted.
No, never mind. I'm on Matsumoto's sub decision, so yeah. I mean, I'm down to do that.
Yeah, and then you have creative freedom. We give the guys our official show long shot now. Then you have creative freedom to do what you need to do with the cycle the next couple of days.
All right, you guys ready for this shit?
Dude, the John
ready for this shit? Hold on, you gotta hear this. You gotta hear this number, bro. 2-leg parlay. John Silva by submission plus 750. John Matsumoto by submission plus 650. $100 is gonna bring home 6,300. 63-1, just 2 legs. 63-1, 2 legs. If you want to go the conservative route, no, you can't. But if you wanted to, you could go Silva by finish. It's gonna drop the odds like crazy. Obviously, it's probably gonna be like 15. It's already
I mean, I think you could go both guys by sub decision if you'd rather just throw that in and drop the odds. But keep
it simple.
Yeah, let me send that over.
Parlay. We'll put that one on social media for you guys as well, and then stay tuned. By Friday night, the cycle parlay will be out.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna go. We'll get these posted. Remember we hit that Ryan Spann Court McGee 2-legger. So like we've done
that was sub KO though, wasn't it?
No, it was sub.
It was sub. Okay, yeah. So that's a formula that's worked for us.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. I like it.
I just know you're gonna have that ticket in your hand come Saturday, so like, why not lock it in? You know,
it's possible, bro.
I think it's fun. Hey, like those themed ones, I'm all about it. I like theming and naming more parlays. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. We went a little bit long. We had technical issues. We got haunted at one point. It was a long show. We will be back next week to talk about the fights as well. We are in the midst of 11 straight weeks of UFC, so you'll see us here every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for the time. My name's Austin Swaim. You can catch my full stuff, FanDuel Research tomorrow, FanDuel.com/research/UFC. That is the man, MattyBetss, at MattyBetss with 2 S's on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Matty's out there.
Go. I'll be back, bro.
Matty's out of here. I'm out of here, too. Thank you guys so much for joining us. There's our long shot parlay and our safe parlay from the show this week. Best of luck to you guys in your lays, and we will see y'all next week.
We're going to go one guy by decision, one guy by knockout, one guy by submission. We're going Ismail by decision.
For the winner, Ismail!
Jeff Neal by knockout. Hamza by sub.
He goes for the neck! He's down!
I love Bo by points this week. I love it. It's my favorite prop. I like Span sub.
He's got it. Neck tight. He's got the tap.
I like Pantoja by rear naked choke. Give me Bryce Mitchell inside the distance. I just bet it, bro. I put it in right now.
And I think round 1-2 plus 135 is a good number. What a clusterfuck of a show. We got haunted in the middle of it, Mike.